Because of the way the universe is created, we each of us live in two worlds at the same time. We have to live in the outer life of our own bodies and the inner life of our own souls.
Hello and welcome to Living the Inner Life. I'm your host, Chris Sheridan, and I want you to join with me on a journey into our inner lives, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, everything that helps shape the way we interpret the outside world and influence the way we respond to it with people and events and all the things that we do in life. All right, so this is my 33rd podcast, and I thought I would do something a little lighter, something non-controversial, something we can all wrap our heads around. Freemasonry. All right? I, in full disclosure, am not a Freemason. I have never been initiated. I have taken no oath, so I am sharing no secrets. In fact, I'm not really going to talk about handshakes or degrees of whatever happens in a Masonic lodge because I don't know, I don't go. But what I want to talk about is the basis behind Freemasonry. It's a metaphor. It's a symbolic system of working and improving your inner life, which is what we're all about. I did one earlier on alchemy, and the external, this exoteric alchemy is changing lead into gold. But really what we're doing is involving the inner process of changing our lower based desires and aspects to ourselves and refining them, elevating them to a more golden state. Okay, that's the lead to gold within. And Freemasonry is a practice that uses the elements and the metaphor of building a building. Okay, so you have a foundation, you have a cornerstone, you have a level, you true the walls, you make sure they're straight, you have an architecture, you have a blueprint, there's this plan behind it, okay, and you build a structure. Yes, all those things work quite well when you're building a regular building, which in case would be a stonemason, but a Freemason is one who uses those metaphors, those images, and this aspect of making a building as a way of building yourself, building your character, building your life, your convictions, your family, as well as your community. All right. Now, you've all heard the story, the three little pigs, all right? There's this wolf, and he's going to huff and puff and blow your house down. First little pig built his house out of straw, blew it down right away. He ran to the other pig, who had built his house out of sticks, which was more strong. And, well, of course, the wolf blew that one down too. And then both the pigs ran to the third pig's house, which he made out of masonry, out of bricks. And the wolf could not blow that house down. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a Masonic story. It may be, but it illustrates what's going on. Not only did the third pig build his house or her house out of something stronger, something that was stronger than the wolf, okay, probably took more time, probably cost more, maybe it was more difficult to build this building, but the structure held. And not only did it save the third pig, it also saved the other two as well. And that's what's important about building a strong structure, whether it's with your life or whether it's with a house. Not only do you benefit moves on and helps other people too. So it casts a wider net. It does more for more people. Okay? And that's what I want to get into a little bit, talking about Freemasonry. Okay? Because we know from the Bible, right? Isn't there a line that says something about if you build your house on shaky ground or on shifting sands, I think was the term used, it's not going to hold up. But if you build it on a rock, I guess Peter did that, built his house on a rock, it's going to be stable. And that is physically true. That is actually and factually, scientifically true. And it is also true within. If your convictions are shaky ground. If you flip and flop from one thing to the next, well, then it's shifting sand. And your structure, that is your life, will not be solid. It will also move with the wind and the sand. Okay? A rock is stable, it is strong, and if you build your house on a rock or on a nice foundation, you're going to have a better experience, you're going to have a better house, and you're going to have, in the inner sense, a stronger structure that's going to uphold your convictions and your beliefs and the things you want to do. It will be more beneficial to you, and you will reap the rewards. And not only that, it'll extend out and be helpful to others as well. So a building generally starts with a foundation. That could be a concrete slab on the ground, or it could be a basement, or it could go all the way down and you have a parking garage, because the higher you build, the deeper you want to dig for your foundation, just like a tree. The taller and bigger the tree, it's going to have stronger, bigger, deeper roots to hold it up. So that's the first step. And the public face of Freemasonry a lot of times is when a new building is commissioned to be built, or some project for the community, a church, a school, something like that, a bridge. You can see them out there, and they have their golden shovels, and they all dig at the same time, the groundbreaking ceremony, which is interesting too, because it's sanctified. It's made holy or sacred in the sense that you have a ritual. You have something that says, hey, we're doing something important. This is a building project for the community. The mayor, the people are out, the press, and the Masons are there to say, hey, we're going to build this house right. We're going to set the cornerstone in the right spot. It's really important. And the walls will be trued. They will be squared. They'll be aligned. They will be level. All these metaphors are used in building, and these are the things we want to do when we're establishing something. So if you're starting a business, a lot of businesses now are done online, including this one. I don't know if it's a business. It's a podcast right now. It's a business for somebody, I guess. The podcast host is doing business. But it's more than just a building. If, say, you do open a so-called brick and mortar store, okay, that's the shell. And it's important that that be done correctly, and it be inviting, and it be strong, and all the things it needs to be a store, let's say, if that's what you're doing, this business, this physical business. And it also has to be the right space. It has to be inviting. And so you're not just building this physical structure. What's the inner structure of your business? And that would be your mission statement, your guiding principles, the About Us on a website you would click and find out what's our mission, who we are, what we want to do, what's the story behind putting this together. Why is it we have this business? Well, I could tell you that this podcast, I wanted to have a forum where I could share some of the things I've experienced, things that I believe in strongly. I'm a big advocate for the inner life. That's why I called it Living the Inner Life. I think we have capacities and abilities far beyond anything science or computers have been able to do in our inner lives. It's just that I think we've lost touch with them partly because of technology. And I think it's good to get back to that. Maybe have both. I definitely have both. Why not a symbiotic relationship between technology and machines and instruments and our personal human consciousness, that instrument of understanding, of knowledge, of sharing and giving and supporting ourselves, our families, our communities. Okay, so back to the masonry aspect of this metaphor, okay? You have to have a plan. You don't just dig a hole and start building stuff randomly. You might have an architect or a designer figure out where it's going to be, and a surveyor to make sure the land is strong enough to withhold this structure. You're not building it on a floodplain or something like that. And you want this building to be in such a way that it's going to function the way it's going to function. It'll hold up on its own. So you have a structural engineer, like I said, an architect, then you may have a blueprint. Usually you do. A plan, just like your business would have a plan. Just like your life, your philosophy of life should have a plan. It should have a foundation. It should have a mission. It should have a plan on how you're going to carry that out. What are the steps? What does this look like? How is this going to work in the world? Okay, what is it going to do for you and for others? So in developing this, the design has to be good, the engineering has to be sound, the structure, the construction of it. You want good laborers, you want good stonemasons or carpenters or whoever's going to build this. If you're building your philosophy, you want that to be built strong. And you build it based on knowledge and experience, just like in a physical building. You're not reinventing materials engineering or structural engineering or building techniques. Okay, those have already been developed. You can go further and continue to develop them and maybe come up with new ways to construct something to solve problems or meet new challenges. But you also have a history of buildings being built throughout time and lessons learned from the little pigs, as well as other failed structures that have been built over time. And you have a sense of what works, what doesn't work, and you can move from there. So in our inner lives, if we're building a philosophy of life, a living philosophy, a very practical, meaningful philosophy, we have the history of great thinkers, of poets, musicians, authors, statesmen. The greatest minds of all times have worked on similar projects. Just like builders have worked on building projects, philosophers and all these other people I've mentioned have been working on the human condition, the human structure, okay, for a long time. And it's still mysterious. We haven't figured everything out. You can read texts from 2,000 years ago, and they have a lot of the same problems we still do. The human condition, the human being, our human race is a very interesting, very mysterious, sometimes frustrating group of folks that we are. But we are, and this is what we have to deal with. And I think, like building a building, we can build our own character, our own individual structure, not separate from everybody else, but on our own. This building, this structure can be sound. It can have a good plan. It can have a purpose and a functionality, and it can be built using good techniques. And that, with other individuals, can make a community, can make a society, can make the whole world work and work better together. But each has to do their own part. Just like the archway has to have its own structure and the physics behind it. You have the keystone that kind of puts it all together and keeps it from falling down at once. And you have, again, like I said, the cornerstone. And you have all these tools to make sure it's lined up. You want it to be straight. You want the bricks to all line up in a row, evenly spaced, both sideways and up and down if you're building out of bricks. Okay, you want all these things to be working and to work them in such a way that they're going to be a good strong building. Like if you build your structure, your philosophy of life, you want it to be strong. You want it to be sound. You want it to be based on tried and true principles. And since we're all individual and we have our own unique way of being, our own way of looking at the world and ourselves, yes, it's going to be different. And there will be new things as you're building this. It's not going to be all built on old stuff because those will be applied, but it's going to be your building, your structure, your character, this free Masonic version of yourself. All right. And this continues on with all the aspects of a building. Okay. What's it for? In the Three Little Pigs, the brick house was for protection from the elements, or in this case, from an animal in nature, the big bad wolf. And it worked. And it saved, like I said, the third pig, but it also protected the other two. So it wasn't just for an individual pig. Not only did he build it strong enough, he built it big enough that he could house the other two and protect them as well. Just like your philosophy of life. What are you building? Just something for your own personal use that's going to advance your life and your career and not involve anybody else? Or is it going to be big enough and strong enough and provide enough that more people can benefit from this well-designed and well-constructed structure that you've built? And just like we use building materials such as wood and concrete, brick, metal, there are components in our inner life which we build this inner structure. And these are our beliefs and our convictions and our mission, the purpose. Why is it we're doing this? Okay, and that will help determine what it is you need. If you want to build a house for a big family, well, then it has to be bigger. It has to have more bathrooms. It has to have all kinds of things. Different than if you just had a couple people living in the house. So if your philosophy of life, if your mission includes helping other people, then it has to be big. And if you're going to do something difficult, life is difficult anyway, okay? Let's just hold right there and say, no matter what you're going to be doing, it's going to be difficult. Life is full of challenges, both within and without. So just like construction, there's always going to be new challenges. Even if a similar house or a similar apartment building or church has been built 1,000 times before, or a skyscraper, there's still going to be new challenges every time you do it. Okay, that's just everything. Okay, so you're going to meet these challenges, and you're going to build a structure that reflects and honors and supports your mission. What is the function? What is the purpose? What is the reach? Okay, how can my life benefit me and benefit others? And what does that look like? Well, I'll go back to this podcast. This is what I'm doing. I have spoken with people one-on-one. I have done teaching, workshops, classes for years, usually small numbers of people. And right now, this podcast is reaching small numbers of people, but I'm glad you're here listening. There are no small numbers. They're all good. Every single one. If there's one, it's important. It's important to do it anyway, even if nobody listens. I'm putting it out there in the ether because I think it's important. I feel really strongly about these topics that I go over. And the podcast was the structure, the format that I felt I could reach the most people and have the most freedom to speak about what I want to speak about. And I have developed this format that's 22 to 25 minutes long. I don't want to talk too long about everything, but I want to have enough time to really develop an idea, to get a discussion going. It's a little one-sided right now. I want to hear what your thoughts are, some feedback. And as we do that, maybe I'll do live streams, and it'll be very communicative. It'll be very conversational, and that's a conversation I want to have because this is what it takes. Okay, it can't just be a one-way, me talking about a bunch of stuff. I want to hear back. It's because that's what makes things really work. Okay, that's part of the structure that I'm building for living the inner life, because we all live our inner lives, and I want to see us all improve in that area. We're very externally motivated. We're very distracted by the things around us, and we're distracted by the things within us. And if we can get centered, and if we can live our inner life, if we can build this, if we can construct a design and a building that supports that, then we can do more, we can be more, and we can share more with more people so that they can do the same, to pass it along. Okay, there were buildings like cathedrals that took generations to build. There were people that started building a church, a chapel, a cathedral, I guess, out of stone, and they wouldn't live to see it finished. And a lot of businesses, a lot of trades, a lot of crafts, guilds had a family lineage. You would teach your sons the trade, and they would do it. Maybe it would be your grandchildren that would be the first generation that would see the completion of this. Okay? So it can live on, it can live beyond us. And if we're building something, even if we're just building it internally for now, it does emanate out. The better you are, the better you are going to be for everybody else. And you're going to be projecting that. And that's contagious in a good way. And people can pick up on that. They can see what you've done to get to where you are. And they can ask questions. Well, how did you build this philosophy of life? Your convictions, your beliefs, and uphold them, okay, to where they're true. Things are level. They are built with a plan, with a blueprint, and there is this architecture, okay? This larger sense of what it is. Is it pleasing to the eye? Is it welcoming to bring people in? And you could be talking about a building, we could be talking about you or me. So think about that. Think of how you can construct and design your life, your inner life, in such a way that it won't be knocked down by the big bad wolf, whatever that is. There's a lot of that out there. A lot of criticism, a lot of reasons, a lot of huffing and puffing. Let's just call it that. Okay, can it withstand that? Not only for you, but for other people. Can you shelter others? Okay, is this something that's going to live on? Can you construct and build from this design with a mission, something that will continue? All right? So think about that. Let me know what you think, and whether you're a stonemason or a Freemason, or just using this as a metaphor like I do for constructing my life. And let me just touch on, before I go, a reason why you want to do something or have a metaphor that's very physical, like building a building. Okay? Looks nothing like building your character, your inner structure, but it's like it. It's a metaphor. It's good to see things in terms of something out there, because we can wrap our heads around it, and it's a little indirect, but sometimes the indirect way is the best way to get to something. So as you're affirming your convictions, as you're standing by them, if your conduct is matching your conviction, you're doing what you say, saying what you do, then you are building a strong building, a true building, a structure that will help you and help others and live on in your inner life and in your outer world. And thank you for spending some of your time here with me on Living the Inner Life.